Welcome to today's webinar, where you're going to hear how to best support First Nations people with advanced care planning. I'm Leslie Habel, and I'm the National Manager for Advanced Care Planning Australia. It's with great honour that I introduce you today to Cindy Paardekooper, who's a proud Kokatha woman from South Australia, and Tammy McGrath, a proud Wongatha Ngadju Mirning woman from WA. Thanks, Tammy and Cindy.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thanks, Leslie.
So we acknowledge the country, Mother Earth, homelands, the lands, the waters, the skies we all live, work and travel across, and respectfully acknowledge the many traditional owners, custodians, first storytellers of whose ancestral lands the Advanced Care Planning Australia provides services to. It's more than just ownership or connection to land. We acknowledge and respect all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, their customs, their wisdoms and their beliefs. We also pay our respects to our elders past, present and emerging, and respect the ongoing contribution to language, culture, kinship, songline, dance and ceremony in local communities today. I'd also like to acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nations on the traditional owners of the lands where I'm currently presenting from. And I'd also like to hold space to acknowledge any sorry business that may have occurred in recent times for those here with us today. Welcome to you all.
Thank you, Tammy. I'd also like to acknowledge that I'm on Kaurna country and speaking to you from those custodians and the lands. Today we're going to talk about advanced care yarning, and we just want to bring together some cultural warnings and disclaimers and some of the language and terminology that you might hear throughout our session. We might use interchangeably Nyungas or Wongais or mob, but it's all inclusive of Torres Strait Islander brothers and sisters. Throughout the presentation, we're also going to have some images that are of deceased people, so we're just mindful and thank you for the permissions to use these. We're also going to reflect on our own personal and lived experiences around advanced care yarning. Not all of our views represent the views of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, so it's important to understand the local context of Aboriginal communities you might be working in.
Sorry business, passing on or passed away are common terms used in Aboriginal culture, and that refers to death or dying, and encompass the time of mourning. This is no time frame and a sacred space for our families just to be. In Torres Strait Islander cultures, the equivalent can be sad news. So we need to be respectful on where we are and what the terms that we are using with our patients in the communities. Today we're talking about supporting First Nations people with advanced care planning or advanced health directives or whatever the paperwork that we're using in order to get the people's wishes down on paper or documentation, and we're giving you tips and ways on best ways to doing this.
A part of everyone's life is having a death, and for Aboriginal people, we see death as a natural and normal event. Our cyclic is life, death, life, and we come back again through our spiritual form. It's important that Aboriginal people have experiences of good deaths, that is in a comfortable and culturally safe environment, whether it be in their home, on their community, or in a care setting that's comfortable and safe and nurturing for their end-of-life care journey. At times when we think about a good death, what is the planning we need to consider to ensure it's a good death? And for Aboriginal people, or for our mob, it'll mean important things to their family and community participation, where they're passing and how their passing is, the type of care they're receiving. The more important is to have these good deaths, and through advanced care yarning, we'll make this possible for Aboriginal people.
So advanced care yarning, how do we do this in a practically culturally responsive approach? So it's around the patient and family-centred care. We need to respect the culture, the compassion and kinship, and be aware of the patient's needs. We need to be listening. We need to understand their journey, where they've come from, where they're at, and where they're wanting to go to. Taking the cues and listening and reading the body language. We need to be doing this with grassroots people on the ground who have those connections with these their patients. And this needs to be a collective decision making. It doesn't matter how many times you need to have these conversations to have all the right mob there in one place, because we come from big families. We have to have it over and over. We have to get it right in the way that makes sense or is right ways for our people. Our Aboriginal patients need the options to pass at home. Now, like Cindy explained in the first few slides, that this is cyclical, it's life, death, life experience, the importance of country to us and why we need to pass on country. So we need those options. And then that comes also back to the good death. You know, a good death for us is actually being home on country with our families and our people, our ancestors, where we're going to continue that life, second life journey. And our service providers, we need to be walking together. Today is National Closing the Gap Day, and the disparities in health. There's so many gaps within health, and we need to work. It doesn't matter what service, we're all after the same outcomes. If we're all working together, how much better our workloads, the patient outcomes will be. And especially around advanced care planning, everybody should be having these conversations, not just the palliative care experts.
So what are some of the ways we can start to build our capability and confidence as care service providers in having these respectful, sensitive and planned advanced care yarns with Aboriginal people and their families? It's important that you build your own awareness, the awareness of the community, their cultural groups, their language spoken, and the dynamics or elders and those with authority within the community. It's about showing unwavering respect and value for the knowledge shared by Aboriginal people. And that's how you start to learn to connect with your local community, by going out and having these yarns with our mob, by developing that rapport with meaningful relationships, to ensure that we're working in partnership and advanced care yarning is co-created by our care providers, our families, our decision makers and our patients, and that it is centred around what's most important to them. Other ways we can think about building those relationships and having those respectful conversations is really thinking, is my communication and an approach suitable and sensitive? Is it culturally responsive? Is some of my language and words or my jargon too overwhelming for Aboriginal people? Do I need to make things through their worldview on how they see and understand different situations around future planning, their care, their medication, and their illness journey as they come to their final days? And how important it is to build your awareness and knowledge that builds you the skills and tools to go confidently in to Aboriginal families and communities and have advanced care yarning. So when we put it into context from an Aboriginal perspective, we look at what matters most important to me. And as we talk about our cyclic view, much of this discussion is also in the form of a cycle. The country where we were birthed from, the country that we come from, and our mother is a strong connection to us that are centred in the middle. Our extended and immediate family are also central to the decisions we're going to make in our advanced care plan, for such as who will be my substitute decision maker, who will be there to bring family together for family meetings, who will be there to care for me on my country or my place of choice. The importance of traditional healing and medicines and traditional nunkeries as part of the healing phase is also important to consider in that advanced care yarn. The place of funeral or burial, or where they want to be as they're on their end of life journey, is also critical to put in the advanced care plan or yarn. Our mob will generally have a lot of arguments and not know which decisions to make. So how can we have a transparent, open yarn with our mob to be very clear and the family clear on what that person's wishes are, choices are, and where they want to be cared for? But also thinking about the geographical and regional locations that our families and patients might be residing in, and how do we make sure that they get the adequate care, that they get the support, and that their illness journey is one of a safe and comfortable journey as they move forward.
Now, Cindy, that was an important part there, safe. Creating these safe environment is crucial to having these conversations. We don't want to be having these conversations within four walls in a clinical setting. Think outside the box where we're having these conversations, where you're tapping into already established group like women's groups or men's groups. We need to be, having it outdoor where we like to be out on country. So whether it's on a fishing expedition or an arts and craft group where we're busy with our hands and we're not sitting in front of each other. So being ready to have these conversations whilst we're carrying out these, joyful activities. And really be heard. Like we're really listening. I can't stress to this point enough that we need to listen for the cues and planting of the seeds for having these conversations. And it's not just us palliative care specialists, it's everybody's conversations. If you have the relationship with your patient, with your community, with the sick ones that are going in and out of hospital, you should be having these conversations with these people and not doing a referral too late down the track when we're behind and there's too much built up anxiety or heightened stress. So if we're normalising these conversations around dying and death as it's a natural process, then how much more open and willing for these mobs to plan out their wishes, their instructions on their future life journey, that everybody's on that same page. The healing process will start to begin because the pressure is taken off that we can move in that direction and everybody knows what the plans are.
As Tammy was saying, how do we make sure we have the time and the flexibility to allow these questions, these conversations, without feeling pressured? So ensuring that we have really safe engagement approaches, our environment is right, the family are comfortable, the family are trusting and have confidence in you that are sharing their personal knowledge with. We take it from the preface that it's person and family-centred care. And part of that care, as part of that cycle around that individual, is their culture, that their kinship and their family connections are also engaged. But we also take these conversations sensitively with great respect, showing empathy and compassion, as it is challenging to have advanced care planning with anybody. We need to make sure that the conversations are also held in confidential spaces. Sometimes family members or patients may not want their information shared, so we need to check that first. But as Tammy said, it's important to walk alongside the patient and the family. They can't do this planning without our help, and we can't provide their care that they need at their end of life or their end finishing up journey without our care. So how can you continue to grow your cultural capability to build those strong skills of active listening, yarning, and making it a normal process?
So like I've mentioned before, advanced care yarning and planning is everybody's business. It shouldn't be the palliative care specialists. Here are some of the resources that are up on screen, but use what tool is appropriate to you, what's in your region, in your state, and develop that with your patient, thinking outside the box. So having a yarn around the critical information that you need in order to get that documentation down on paper. And making sure, importantly, that everybody has a copy of this so that people know, the wishes. So your doctors, your next of kin, your family, on your fridge, the ambulance people, so that, we're not doing any medical procedures that aren't necessary.
Part of these resources can also be found in a whole range of other areas. There's tips on how to build clinical yarning, diagnostic yarning, and advanced care yarning. There's other resources that can help you build your cultural understanding and capability when working with Aboriginal people. And we want to take this opportunity to encourage you to build and further grow your cultural learning journey by using tailored resources that are appropriate for Aboriginal people. Here are a few other platforms that you might want to consider in building that understanding. And these are available both nationally and electronically for you to build that further confidence.
Cindy, there's so many beautiful resources out there, and even for us as Aboriginal First Nations people, we can learn so much from the websites or from these resources. But until you actually work alongside Aboriginal people, grassroots, strong leaders within the community, and actually will sit down and listen to what's being saying, what's being expressed, and be guided by them on, they know their best journey. So that's
The best way to go.
that's it.
Absolutely. Well, I've certainly gained from your wisdom today, Tammy and Cindy. I always love being present with you. And, from today, I've taken the importance of co-creating, taking the time to not only get to know the First Nations person, but their community and learn about their country and their greater mob. And, take the time to then have that yarn to make this a normal process in planning for a good death for the person. So thanks so much for sharing your wisdom today. No doubt we'll see you again in an advanced care planning world. And thanks to our viewers today for joining us. Can I encourage you all just to link in with Advanced Care Planning Australia through our socials or through our website. Until next time, I'm Leslie Hable, and thanks again for joining us today.
Nakan.
Thank you.